All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be putting together the Burg minimalist wallet. We have a couple different options here with the Burg. This is the single sleeve and the double sleeve. This is made from a harness leather. This is made from this is the rose-colored Botero with a darker brown Botero leather. Both options are available at the dosrosedesigns.my Shopify website, but we're going to go through a little bit of a longer build. I did a quick version of this a little while back, but we're going to go through the longer build so you guys can see how we put this wallet together. To get us started here, I have a scratch piece of leather. The folks at my local Tandy shop, I guess about a month or so ago, I was in over the weekend doing some looking for some new leather, and they gave me this, honestly, kind of a little bit of a mystery piece. I gravitated towards it really pretty quickly. I liked the color. I liked how clean the back was. Nice, pretty firm in temper, good for wallet making. And they said that they only had a couple of hides of it that Tandy had sent to them. So the guy, knowing that I come in kind of randomly, on the weekend every now and again, knows that I do leather work and said, hey, let me cut you off a big square. So he actually gave me a really good sized piece. This just happens to be what's left of it. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to start with just tracing around the edge of a simple cardstock template. This piece is a little bit bigger. This piece is a little bit bigger than this piece here, just in terms of thickness. I make them a little bit of varying sizes because honestly, people like to stuff a lot of things in their wallet. So I like to give that as a little bit of an option, just a little bit of give. But this was the piece, ultimately a bigger piece that I used to kind of trim or make the outside of my template with. And honestly, we leave these on here because what we can do here, if you notice with these two, see we make the angles at a different direction, so people can almost not necessarily customize, but they can kind of choose which one they like better. So we do leave that open, and then we make that adjustment later. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get started with the tracing around our template here. Excuse the puppy shaking in the background. We went for our evening walk, but I think she's just not done yet in terms of energy getting out. So she'll be walking around a bit, but let me grab my piece and then we'll get back to that. All right, now that we have that traced out, I'm just gonna grab our ruler here and grab our X-Acto knife. And we're gonna go ahead and make some cuts. I like to try to conserve leather, especially when I don't know, excuse me, if I'm gonna get any back of this particular kind, but I had such a nice good sized piece with this, and I've used it for several things. I'm okay just kind of trimming this off. And again, extra pieces here, I can use this for something small later on, so I'll put that in my scrap bin. And the same thing will go for this extra piece over here. So go ahead and get this cut out. I probably should have put a new blade on my X-Acto knife. I get this done here for some additional work, and I will probably go ahead and do that. Go ahead. Let's go here. Throw that piece away. Corkback ruler is really important. Don't really want my ruler to be sliding around everywhere. Corkback ruler is really important. I'm gonna clean up a little bit here, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm also gonna put a new blade on my knife for just the rest of this project, but we'll meet you back here in a minute. All right, welcome back. So what we're gonna do now, take this here, and again, on the template, I don't necessarily cut the angled piece because I wanna be able to have the option, do I want the angled piece over here, or do I want it to, the orientation to be this way? I like to have a variety in the shop because, people like different things and they have different preferences. So I'll go ahead and try to make a few of each and have all those available on the website. But that's why I don't necessarily mess with that with the template itself, the paper cutout. And it is a pretty simple design. You guys can see, just line it up here, make my marks. Set that over to the side there. Line up these marks here. Just make my line. If I were to come back, but now since I'm right here, I'm gonna go ahead and make this cut. Fresh blade helps so much. But this is what we're left with here. So you can kind of see we're starting to take the basic shape, right? This is how that's gonna look. This will fold over. And what I'm going to do next, the next thing, when we eventually fold this, we're not gonna be able to burnish this edge here once it's all together. So I wanna go ahead and I wanna clean up this edge right here. I'm gonna bevel and burnish it after I sand it down, get it a little bit shiny. We're gonna lay those fibers down on the leather. And then we'll come back after that and I'll show you what we're working with for the next step. All right, welcome back. So we were able to clean up this edge just a little bit and try to hold this in the right spot. I don't know if you guys can see that. Get the camera to hopefully focus on that. But you can just, hopefully you can just tell it's just a tad bit, you know, change in color here. We're just laying these fibers down. You know, we don't necessarily want, some people really go for the nice shine on sometimes, on some projects I will do that. But hopefully you can just see the difference between this raw edge here and this burnished edge here. Now, again, that's because when we get it into its shape, we're not gonna be able to hit that as an outside edge. It'll be a little bit harder to get to. So what we're gonna do next, we are going to grab our calipers here, and we're going to make sure that this is set to where I need it to be set. It is. And what we do, I need to mark now where my stitch line is going to be, because I want to make sure to steer clear of the stitch line with the logo when I go out to the garage. I probably won't take you guys with me for that and move the camera and the setup and that, but I'll go out to the garage, to the press, and get that logo pressed in. But I want to make sure that I avoid the stitch line, the future stitch line, for how that's going to look. So I'm just gonna, I have it set here, my calipers, and I'm just gonna make my marks on here. Let's see if we can get you up to the camera. Can you guys barely see those marks there? So roughly speaking, I know that I need to stay within that with my logo when I go punch my logo. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll be back. All right, and we're back. You guys can see this here. Now different leathers are going to take the logo a little bit differently. This harness leather, you can see, I really like how the logo turns out on the harness leather a lot. This is just a little bit different. It's a little bit more subtle, but we know it's gone through because we can see from the backside, which is also really important as to why we're doing this now, as opposed to when we have this folded over, and even if we're sticking cards inside of it or cardboard or something to try to help keep that from happening and going all the way through to the backside. I've made that mistake before. It happens, but we want to make sure that we're putting this in here. What's next now is we're going to glue. We're going to mark our spots here. I'm going to fold this over, and I'm going to put a little mark down here. Let's see if we can, here's my pen. Make a tiny little mark right here towards the edge. So I don't want my glue to go past that point. I want it to go up to that and cover it, but I don't want it to go past that. And I've given myself just like a centimeter of extra wiggle room there. But then we're going to put glue here, 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 and here, all the way on these three sides. And then we're, I say glue, it's cement. So then we're gonna clamp it down with some binder clips, and I have a weight that we can put on it to help get it ready to start to really hold its shape. And we'll come back after that so you guys can see what that looks like. All right, we put on our contact cement, we let it get a little bit tacky so it helps stick a little bit better. We got this placed into place here. I do have one of these roller tools here. This can help me form that shape that I was talking about here. We can press down, try not to get the logo, press down on where we had the glue to help it really kind of put together a nice tight seal right here. I have just a few binder clips here. I do try to keep these pretty close to the edge as possible. On a few projects, they have left a little bit of an indentation. I haven't had too much bad luck with that. But I really like to put it, you know, especially on some of these corners that we're gonna, you know, mostly trim off. You know, to do a little bit of a rounded corner with. But, you know, here, just putting it on the edge, I really just wanna give it something to hold on to. And we're gonna let that sit for a little bit. And I do have another large weight. This is actually, was my grandmother's, my granny's. I believe it was something she actually used when she was a child. When she passed, I was able to get it from the house. And so there, yes, Granny helps me with my leather work. So thanks for helping, Granny. But really what that's gonna do, the binder clips are there kind of pressing everything together in terms of helping that cement kind of really form a tight bond. The weight is just helping me make sure that the crease here stays pretty prominent and, you know, doesn't wanna like pop up anywhere. So we're just gonna let this sit for a little while. Patience is a good thing here. So if we let it sit for a little bit and we come back and then we can finish the project. All right, welcome back. So this has been sitting, a little while, maybe 20 to 30 minutes or so, just to give it a little bit of time to help everything set up. One of the next things that we are going to want to do is I want to go ahead and try to trim any edges here if things didn't quite line up right where we needed them to. Very, very, very minor trimming. It shouldn't necessarily impact our stitch line too much at all. I'm trying to leave a little bit of excess with our stitch line. I go a little bit bigger on my stitch line when I set it on my calipers than what I actually need to allow for the tiniest bit of like a sliver of trim allowance if I need it. And we look pretty good here. Put that tool out of the way for a second. Set this down here. Try to line that up. There's a tiny, tiny little sliver. And this is just really important when you want to allow for just a little bit of cleanup on the edge, because it's going to make the overall burnishing and the edges look that much nicer when the project is ready to be burnished and almost ready to be complete. So you get a nice, clean, smooth edge. This one looks pretty good. There's no overage or anything there with that one, so we did a good job on that. The next step, real quick. What we have here is a little, corner tool, if you will. I was using, honestly, I just got a pizza stone from Pampered Chef, and I had not yet used the little piece that came with it that you scrape the cheese off of the pizza stone with. Don't worry, so I didn't use it and then use it on my leather, but I needed a quick corner, and as I was really starting to get into deeper, rounder corners, my spouse said, Cairo, go get an actual tool for that. It's the right thing to do, get the right tool for the right job, so I definitely did. I ran to the local Tandy store. Just one day I was here, we were doing some weekend running around, and I said, hey, let's go to Tandy so I can get that tool, and I won't use the cheese scraper for the pizza stone anymore. But corners are important because corners are going to be those things that get caught on your pants pocket if you're putting this in your pants, or even if you're not putting it in your pants and you're just dropping it in your bag. It's going to be the corner is going to be the thing that gets caught on everything. So you do want to, try to pay attention to corners. You want to give them a nice little rounded look here. And I even like to do this corner down here. I don't do it quite as deep, but I just don't want that corner on there because, again, the corners are the things that are going to get stuck on things. So it just gives it a little bit of a curve. And then what's really important at this point is to just take some sandpaper, some high grit, real smooth, just smooth it out a little. We're just, any minor imperfections that might have been there when we made that cut, we're gonna want to attend to those. So I'm gonna do that real quick. You heard my dog, she just saw the people running around outside and has decided to just say that she wants to go out. So I'm gonna take her out maybe for her second evening walk, and then we'll come back to this. All right, we're making good progress on this project. So the next step is I'll show you guys can still see the stitch line that we put on there with our calipers earlier. I always like to put a scratch piece underneath. And I'll show you how we make these holes by hand. So we just line up our punch here. Camera's actually a little bit in the way. Take me an extra hot second here to make sure I'm on my line. But then we just go through. Punch like that. It goes all the way through. Sorry about that. It goes all the way through. And then we remove this. We go down the line. We line it all up. Same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and punch the rest of these holes off camera, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we were able to get our holes punched here. You guys can see that. I am going to need to move the camera and do a little bit of a different camera setup in order to show you how we're gonna get started with the saddle stitch, because we do hand stitch these wallets. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause here, get the camera set up, and we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, now that we have our stitching pony set up here, I don't know if you guys can see this is the color of thread I have chosen for this Burg wallet. Now, generally speaking, what you're going to want to do, you take this measurement here, And then you want to take that times 4. And then you see that's times 4 times 4 for the number. So make sure that you have enough to go around. And I usually just clip off a little bit extra just to be sure. I've run out a couple of times and I don't really want to run out. And then I really probably should have my glasses on for this. We take it and we start thread the needle and we send it back through the thread. Pull that tight. Get the other end here. Grab our other needle. See if we can show you what we're doing here. Hopefully the camera focuses in through that. Pull through. And then back through the thread. And try not to poke your finger. I do that a lot. So now what we have, and I typically like to go through the front section of your piece first. I think other people might say it differently. They might say go through the back. I'm going through the front because when I saddle stitch, it looks good. I think it looks a tad bit better on the side that I go in through first. So I choose for that to be the front. So we go in, and I measure my thread up, and then I come back through here. And I'm not that great at this. I'm just going to show you the basics, and then I'm going to stitch most of it off camera. Slow and steady wins the race here, because I don't really want, what I don't want is I don't want to punch this other needle through the thread. So I actually kind of like try to grab it here and pull it off to the side, create a little bit of room, and punch it through. And as I'm going through, I don't want to go or pierce or go through the other piece of thread that's already in there. And so I try to be really cognizant of that. And some people are just way faster, way better at this. You don't want to pull either. You just, pull it snug. And we backstitch just a little, just to continue to strengthen a lot of our starts of stitching and to end the stitch. So now we've got a good start. And then we just continue, keep on going, and through one, and pull the other one back just a little bit. And again, we're trying to not pierce and or go through the stitch line that's already there, and just pull it a little bit snug. And we repeat. Now, like I said, this is probably the part of the project that takes me the longest, but it's also really, really important. You spend all this time on it, and I don't want to mess it up with a wonky stitch. I'm okay spending a little bit of extra time doing this, really taking my time, trying to be efficient, trying to be neat and clean on it, making sure I'm trying to do it the right way. Eventually, as time passes, I will continue to get quicker. But to be honest with you, I would prefer my stitches look really good than for me to be really quick on this. There is a quicker way to do it. I'm not going to necessarily show you that because other people do it that way and they can do it and their stitch work still looks amazing. I'm still getting there with that, with a quicker way to do this. So, slow and steady wins the race here. Just consistency and just keep on going. Get this through here one more time. Like that. Pull through. Pull it snug. So I'm going to finish stitching this off camera and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so we have everything stitched. Here's our finished stitch. See that? Now, for securing the thread on the back, I have already cut it. You can use a simple Bic lighter. I also have what's called the thread zap. I'm going to go ahead and use the thread zap on this. So I've trimmed it down, and I'm going to, you just press this little button, the tip gets really hot, and you're able to just zap down the thread piece, or the end of the thread. Kind of just get it all in there nice and clean. I do then probably just take that Bic lighter and push it down. And then you can't really see it. See what we're talking about here? So this is the finished product. We'll wrap up with a quick review, but we'll save that when we readjust the camera. Okay, you just saw us finish up the stitch, the saddle stitch on this Burg wallet. This will be heading to our Shopify website, so doserosedesigns.myshopify.com if you're interested in purchasing this wallet or taking a look at any of the other wallets that we have up for resale. Thanks for joining us on this build with the Burg build video. We hope you enjoyed it.